everybody. So let's get started. My name is Joyce Raimondo. I'm the education coordinator at the Pollock-Krasner House and Study Center, and we have a special presentation today. We have an exhibition on view at the museum of the work of contemporary artist Han Qin, and I'm sorry I didn't pronounce her name correctly. She'll correct me in a moment. Han, in addition to being a prolific visual artist, is a professor at Stony Brook University on Long Island in New York. She's also the mother of three, and I welcome her today. She's going to share her exhibit, her art, and then we'll have time for questions and answers. And she'll share not only the technical aspects of her art, but really she's going to emphasize her creative process and the content and thinking behind the artworks. So let's give a big welcome to Han.
Hello, everyone. So nice to see you here. It's great to have the talk. Sorry about the technical problems that we delayed for half an hour. So I'm going to play a slide that is recorded walkthrough of the exhibition Little Images at Pollock-Krasner House. So let me share this video.
There is some kind of problem.
The sound is a little distorted, Shelley, but can you see the images?
Yes, I see the images. Is there a voice accompanying this?
No, Han's
Okay.
going to explain after the video. Just take a look at the images. This is the installation at the Pollock-Krasner House and Study Center.
Okay.
This right here is upstairs.
Oh, it's beautiful. Wow.
This is in Lee Krasner's former studio, which is on the second floor. And Pollock worked in this room the very first year that they moved there. And Han's work is installed in this studio.
Yeah, this is a walkthrough from the first floor to the second floor of Pollock-Krasner House. And this is where I am exhibiting right now. So the video is go through so we can see more images side by side. So the title of the exhibition called Little Images. This is inspiration, comes from Lee Krasner's early work, where she started to take off from her little image from the upstairs studio that you just saw, then moving to a bigger size of images. And that actually resonates to me a lot at the stage of late 30s, I am right now, where life has been take apart, but also there's still a lot to encounter in the later years. So I would like to discover my own artistic journey as an artist using the work that I do and share you a little bit from this Zoom talk. Not only as an artist, but also as a person, as a researcher, as a immigrant, and also as an educator. So so let's just go ahead to dive into the pictures. So this is me. A decade ago, I moved from China to United States, then stayed here until now. But I travel back and forth, and sometimes that I feel like toured in the different two cultures and families. But that's all feels into my making of artworks. This exhibition is more about the idea of home, since we are actually in a home space where Jackson Pollock and Lee Krasner has been living and making their art. I really enjoy being in their studio, the upstairs little room, where I can see the atmosphere that Lee Krasner has been working there, the northern light come through the not big window, but also I can see the outside, a landscape that retreat into water and into ocean. That is beautiful to me. So I would like to start it with this image in Jackson Pollock's listening room. Should I say that, Joyce? What is this room?
Yeah, you could call it a living room or you could call it a parlor. Either one.
They have wall of books, they have sofas, they have study desks. And I would like to start this piece because my artistic journey started from printmaking and comic reading. This is heavily influenced by black and white images that I have encountered from my first relocation. The first relocation gives me the first turbulence in my early childhood, but then my family moved several times for because my parents' job. But the relocation started to hitting me, but then I enjoyed that being in the stage of discomfort, detached, unsureness. And this feels into my art because I'm figuring out what it's going to do and how it's going to be. This is a wood block print. So wood block is you carve on a wood piece and then you print onto a paper. So this is a wood block piece that I did 2 years ago. That was a gift. I gave it to myself as 10 years of living in America. So over time that I incorporate the stories and people that I met during the time that I'm in United States, but I still don't know where the life gonna unfold. So it's kind of in the middle of a whirlpool. But I do believe as a person, resilient and adaptable, kind of my way of accepting the world when it's changing. So I've learned to embrace the kind of discomfort and uncertainty and step into this kind of unfamiliar whirlpool and see where it's going to take me. And on the way, I met my friends, my family, my mentors. So they are all here in this triptych woodcut. When this was exhibition the first time, I asked a group of fourth grader who are 10 years old, where do you see yourself in this image? And answer was astonishing. So some saying they are floating with the flow, some are fighting the waves, some are surfing. Someone said I would be step back and just be on the side and see everyone going, just like I am. I think I am an observer. Yeah. So also I'm observing, but I also deeply connected to others. So I maintain a strong connection to others. I would love to hear stories from my friends and see how the development, their involvement, their evolution of their own life. So I'm going to show you the next recent work, which is in the middle of their dining room. So as you see the image, this is the first floor dining room. This work on the wall is called Ride the Wave. So I'm showing a little bit of riding the wave. This piece shows the connection that I have with my friends and my fellow people. I choreographed and participate in the performance of the video. Especially these stories are from immigration, from women who inspired me so much. Those are a group of my friends. We talk about life obstacles. We see the difficulties when we were meeting each other. The video performance is a collective experiences that I work with those dancers. They have different role in the society. They are professionals. They are mothers, wives, daughters, and some are grandmothers. Through this project, I shared our story about overcoming the obstacles in our life. And one of choreograph I really appreciate is Yvonne Rainer. I don't know whether you know her. Who deal with normal everyday objects and woman and human. And see those everyday movements and human relations in a dance move. In this work, I see bodies like a media to express the stories that the words cannot. So the performance shows the struggle and support and resilience that women met during their lifelong journey. So I'm going to move a little quicker onto the later parts. So the ending part is something in the whole story that I like quite a lot. This is actually a life experience that I have experienced. The people lift each other on their own support and help each other to stand up It's the life support and resilience that between friends and between just human beings. And that is where I treasure a lot. So I made into the piece of art that just continue the optimistic parts of approach, not only for myself, but also connecting people. Yeah, so that is the piece of performance and video. So we'll just keep going. And if there is any question, you can pause me and ask. This is another video piece, but it's on more personal perspective. This is re-asking myself of identity and how myself kind of evolved into another being. This is basically narrative of a poem by Li Bai called Triumph. It's called Tranquil of the Night. This is a poem that 2000 years ago, a Chinese poet wrote about his exile from the court of empire. So the leaving the court of the empire, then find his new life is both exciting but also terrifying. And I recited that poem when I was 3 years old. That was forced by my father. So I named this piece called My Fatherland because I finally understand the meaning and the behind understanding when I was 30. So I made this piece into a video of myself reading the poem, but translated into English. So, and I would just really enjoy putting this poem and my own kind of digital version of myself in the shelf of Jackson Pollock's bookcase. During the making of the video, there are some fun facts that I found. One thing is when I scanned my face in 3D, that I figured it was horrible to looking at my face directly from the 3D image. That's a real 3D of myself in the screen, but it's kind of distant away. I feel like it's not myself anymore, but a skin and all the texture on a model. Then strangely, after editing, putting color texture, which is more related to my soul, this is more to me a self-portrait rather than a 3D camera model with my real skin on top. And revisiting the poem for many times, I find the best version that I thought there's too much version of translation. The most detached distance, but also connection to your deep soul. Right, this is the small piece of video that you can see the location in the shelf. Moving upstairs are earlier works that are more, I would say, specific bodies, specific embodiment. Those are the images from upstairs, hallway, and Lee Krasner's studio. So the personal involvement in artistic practice for myself, now I can see that, because those are works that done 15 years ago or even earlier, and now my works are involved into much more abstract body images. I think it's personal yet universal. It's rooted in personal experiences, but touched on universal themes such as identity building, relocation, and human embodiment. And those pieces are sometimes quite intimate in a way, but also resonate to others directly. But you see, my work changed over time, and I see the change as artistic practice involvement. So the early specific body, we can call those are bathers, like Woman in Water. Those series are more focused on specific silhouettes. It's exploring femininity, life, and shape, and body, and environment. But over the time, my figure moved to much more abstract figures. So we can move a little bit more down. So those are the series of Honeymoon, where it's color or straightforward, fresh, and energetic. And moving to much more abstract works that I think more deeply to the dynamics and relationship between groups of people, in groups of two, group of three, group of families, and group of communities. Those series started after my relocation to United States. And in this piece, this is a typical piece of drawing that I started to just observing people in groups and how they react to themselves. One day I was taking the Long Island Railway to Atlantic Terminal. That was way before pandemic, and the quantity just people are so much, they flooded out of the train station, then goes to subway station. There's fight, there's turbulent, there's hand in hand. There are a lot of runners. So this is where I started to put my own distance away from groups and being an observer and see what's happened. Then I started paint and using cyanotype and silk to connect my own root and where I can easily to carry all those paintings away from me if I relocate again. So all of my works are, I would say, movable or easy to carry with me, since I don't know where the next location would be. And I enjoy being the kind of zone where uncomfortable, unsure, and detached. And that gives me a mindset of alertness. And I will just put more creative solution to figure out where the path is going to be. So those are series called Floating Clouds, also comes from the inspiration of Asian poem. but basically those are swimmers, or you can say them are flyers, inspired by the trips not only from subway station but also flight travels. So I portray those figures that are more like silhouettes, people flowing through spaces and blending into collective moments. This one is one of my favorites in this series. I see those shift as a part of my changing focus from a specific perspective to a much more wider and acceptable or adaptive point of view. So in a way, I would say it's a journalistic. It's like writing a journal to reveal the world, but the way of writing the journal is using observation and visual language. Many times when I think about making a work, it's when there's something change happened. For example, this is one of my favorite trip to Tibet, but leaving the Tibet was the moment shocked me the most. The little plane was flying in between mountains, and I can see is black and white, the mountains or the snow. So I quite open to the idea of where my art is going to be, and through my artistic career, I kind of embraced idea that can be changed. So I would love to know any thoughts or any interesting artwork that I've shared through the slides, and we can have time to discuss more questions. Thank you.
Han, thank you so much. And you know, I'm a fan of you and your art, and we're so grateful to have you at the Pollock-Krasner House and Study Center. By the way, everybody, the work is up till October 31st, so you can come in person. Go to pkhouse.org to see how you can visit in person. But today, does anybody have any questions for Han or comments?
Yes, I would like to get the poem that you were talking about.
Okay, that's let me just pull out the poem. So let me share the screen so you can see that. So this is the poem that called Thoughts on a Tranquil Nights. It's Li Bai's poem, translated by him.
Mhm.
And I was working with collaborating with a band. The band gives me a piece of music called Kangistic. It's me. The meaning of that is sky space, a star space. So much more wider thoughts, and gives me the time and space to looking through the dark sky and just connecting to thousands of years ago, but also to my early time when my father kind of asked me to recite this.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go back to here. This is where the location was fantastic. It's
Han, can you click into that so we could see it? It's a little small into that. Yeah. Thank you.
Also, it's caramelias, the beautiful color flowers. What medium did you use?
Oh, you mean the flowers? Let me go to
They're all so beautiful. I was just curious what you used.
So this is called monoprints. Monoprints is a printmaking type, but it's only can print one image. I draw on a board, then use oil painting materials and print making oil inks to draw on the board, and then the board transfer onto a paper. So it's oil on paper, only one prints. So this is where I was really enjoy the moment of life and see the flowers not only like flowers but like a body shape. Um, and it's fit perfectly in Lee Krasner's bedroom. So you see where those are in Lee Krasner's bedroom upstairs. This image is reflected in the mirror. You see that? And this is one of Lee Krasner's side portraits. This one is in Lee Krasner's upstairs studio. When we were curating those works, the curator, Matt Word, was working with me on place each work. Since Lee Krasner's studio is the size of her studio is not big, and I wonder how she's later on kind of fill her room with such a large work. But definitely she start with her work small, like those pieces. So I fit those smaller piece of early work of mine into her studio. It's kind of understanding how her ambition started to expand out of this size of frame, but to cover the whole studio wall. Then studio for her is not big enough. And she moved to the barn that create bigger works on the wall. And that was an amazing experience for an artist to have the power and have the ability to create a work that is expand from a small sketch to a bigger life size. That is amazing, and I can totally see that in her studio space. Those are all monotypes, and these are monotypes too. So this is the image. The same technique, monoprints, on paper, so oil on paper and framed. This one is a little more complicated. This one is framed directly on top of the bed back wall of Lee Krasner's bedroom. So I like this. I don't have an image of that, but Lee Krasner has a dark pink color that resonates to this painting, and that dark pink color appears on a lot of painting of her. So I think her color would be a dark pink, but a smooth dark pink, and this works so well in her bedroom. So it involves woodcut, monoprint, watercolor, and pastel. So for the question of techniques, I do think it's an open-ended question. So I do not kind of limit myself in one artistic approach. It can be many solutions. I think there's so many options to choose. Maybe because I started with printmaking, so all those techniques for me is acceptable and adaptable. And even digital technologies for me is an advanced technology compared to printmaking at that time. Yeah, we talked about techniques now.
Han, can you explain a little bit about the cyanotype, the way, like this one, how
This is called a cyanotype combined with watercolor and inkjet. But can you explain a little bit about it, the process?
All right. So cyanotype, I don't know how many of you know, cyanotype is a photograph process that using ultralights to um, activate um, the blue pigment in the chemical. So this one is directly cyanotype on paper. This is a photograph process. So I do have a negative. It can be anything. And I have exposure, which is the ultralight. It can be from sunlight. It can be from studio light. So making the negative into white pieces, and that's a long exposure time. So then I got the image. The process of making cyanotype is a processing of mapping, I think. It's not mapping about a city, but mapping of what I actually thinking about. So for example, this book is a book of 7 pairs of dualism that each represent a scenario, but happens in 2 different results. This is when I went back to home to celebrate a holiday, but I found actually everything was chaos. So it's layer of body. Well, but what I remembered in my childhood, that the holiday should be like this. People were celebrating one big table for a dinner, but later on maybe things happen differently. Then the relation between a group would be react differently. This, for example, is fall in love. You can fall in love in 2. You can fall in love brokenly in 1. So adding on to the cyanotype, it can be not only on paper, but on many subjects. So this is silk, but also I layered a lot of cyanotype using inkjet print onto the silk again, then paint on top. So it's about the process, what I want to incorporate, and how many layers that I is embedding in one of the work. So let's see this one. So let's take a bigger look. So there's our paintings, there's our prints, there are cyanotypes. I don't typically thinking about technique, but it's the layers of the complexity that naturally comes with my way of practice. I think that is the way to explain. Yeah.
Any other questions or comments?
Yes. Hi, Han. This is Les. I really like the fact that you've explored all these transitions and movement, whether flying in the air or, physical movement like the people in the train stations and in the water. Have you ever considered, this is kind of funny, but have you ever considered painting a tree or something, or doing digital arts of a tree that's rooted? For that feeling of like, finally, I'm rooted. I'm just curious.
So your question is asking me if I feel rooted or not.
Maybe, yeah.
That's, I don't know. Yeah. The curator asked the same question to me. He was asking me, how do you feel now? If I'm in the whirlpool or not, or are you going to, I was saying that I was trying to, so where's the whirlpool? So here's the whirlpool. So I told him at that time when I'm making this image, I was this guy. hanging on the edge of the whirlpool and consider if I jump or not, then I guess I am like trying to go through the middle of the point and see what's on the other side. But I really don't know what is the other side. So the question comes, yeah, since I have the question, maybe next piece I can think about what's going to be on the other side of the whirlpool.
Maybe you are on the other side of the whirlpool. You don't even know it. No, I'm just teasing.
Well,
No.
nobody knows what's on the other side. Nobody.
Yeah, but what comes to mind, I'm Joyce, and what you said before about in one of your artworks or the process or a theme of alertness and being unsure at the same time. And I think there's a lot of beauty in that. It reminds me of the spiritual idea of how, everything is in flux. We can never hang on to anything, right? Because everything is changing. And once we accept that, then we feel peace, right? Because we don't try to hang on and we don't try to, stop things from changing. So that's how I relate a lot in these artworks. I see a lot of universal themes, even though it's specific to your experience. But for me, I see a spiritual journey as well as an actual journey. And I think it's really beautiful how you expressed it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think the whole reason that I'm making art is a way to see the world. I remember one philosopher was saying about the comparison of Eastern and Western philosophy in looking at the world and self is the Western philosophy of the relation between you and the world is you open your eyes and you see the world. Or in Eastern philosophy is closing your eyes and see yourself. That's just something in me, but I think I do use both to navigating whatever I encounter. Sometimes I will close my eyes and shut down my ears, but most of the time I will open my eyes to see the world.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I love also the journey, the projection with the women. I forget the name of the piece, the long on the wave, because again, it's specific with their clothing. You could see they're somewhat specific people, and at the same time, to me, that's so relatable, especially being a woman. It's the idea of resilience and community, and that we're all moving forward, but we're all together. I think you expressed it so beautifully. It's so inspiring to me.
Oh, thank you. That is a recent piece. So this is finished this summer, actually. Well, this is finished this before the show. We will have a performance on October 1st, which is the closing day of this show. So 3 musicians going to performance directly respond to the image on the wall, and they will create a totally new piece at the moment when we're performing. So that would be November 1st at night.
Great. And you
Closing
can,
reception.
anyone who's here, you could go to pkhouse.org. The information will be posted, I'm sure.
Excuse me, Han. I'm curious why you went from beautiful colors in your earlier work, and now you're back to like black and white or the dark blue and white. What are your thoughts about that? Why that transition?
It happens naturally. So whatever I talk and whatever I thought was trying to trying to understand what happened. In art practice, I can set up the topic and started to do things. But when the journey started, I don't know when it will take me. So what I can decide is when to stop instead of where I am going. So it happened for all the color just disappeared.
Mhm.
One image that I will give you an example is, let me find. It's here. So let's see. One of the beautiful colors that you can see, it is faded actually on this image. So this is the cyanotype that I did when I moved to America several years later. And I was trying to remind myself the colorful palette that I used to kind of fluent from my head. I didn't think about the color palette, but it just come through when I was doing. I used the same kind of method and same process to make several new flower pieces, but then it turns to a much more muted and abstract piece. So it's not only human figures becomes abstract, but also flower figures, and the color becomes abstract and muted. And I guess it just never coming back. This is the transition as a proof
Yes.
that I understand that's not going to come back.
Oh.
So I treasure that more,
Mhm.
and I enjoy being something different.
You know, and I love that you said that music was inspired by your art, because a lot of times they'll say a picture is inspired by the music, but now they're coming to perform to go with your art, and I love that idea.
Yes, they are improvisational. It's going to be an improvisational work. 3 of the musicians using different instrument. Because the previous idea, the total idea of that piece is a collaborative experiences. And I was just looking forward to know what kind of 3 instruments they are going to collaborate.
Oh, you don't know in advance what instruments they're bringing?
I don't know.
Oh,
Yeah, so they are professional musician. One is cellist, one is digital music writer. So I am waiting for their hint to giving me. So they are pretty started to practice rehearsal already.
No, this is so great. And you know what, also, this relates really well with Pollock and Krasner because, you know, Pollock and Krasner, their art is improvisational. And there's also body movement in their art, right? They're action painters. And Lee really emphasizes this idea. She doesn't will the image, she lets it come through. And I see this as a theme in your work as well, Han. And then especially with this performance piece, it's really not knowing in advance what the script will be. It's just trusting the process.
That's true. Thank you for reminds me that yes, the couple that they are collaborating on many in many ways.
Mhm. Any other comments, questions for Han?
I have a question. I was thinking about the blues in the NASA exhibit that you were featured in a few years ago. I was wondering how you felt about that with, you know, having done this transition from being color to that to having kind of this theme that represents your art in your more recent movements. How did you kind of feel being in seeing a lot of art pieces in that a more monotone dynamic style that I think is like similar to what you're feeling now.
Thank you for reminds me that it's a dynamic process. Although it's monotoned, but it's dynamic and it's complex in layers. So compared to the early work that has much more color in it, the colors are quite vibrant, but the techniques are simple. I would say it's somehow I see my shallow self 20 years ago. It's looking back into the work that I did earlier and it's cherishing, but also I can see the way of how simple it was, simple but enjoyable. Then the recent works, although the colors are simple, but the techniques and thoughts and experience that have been incorporated more into these works. And it's sometimes I think it's, we can just look at it longer times and it's related to our history, our life a little bit more. I think is the answer to your question, hopefully.
Oh, the other aspect of it is that you were had the exhibit that was from like 2020 in the Nassau Museum. Is that what it's called? Or
Oh,
the blue? They had a bunch of features of a bunch of art that feels similar to your current movement. I was wondering how you kind of, being part of that, did you feel like I would want to know your thoughts about like your connections with other artists kind of having sharing a little bit in similar themings, I feel like, with what you're going with now. Because I
right.
felt like it's very on point with like what you are continuing to doing. So I just wanted to know your thoughts because I got to see that.
So you were mentioning this piece. This piece was exhibiting at Nassau County Museum during pandemic. So this is a collaborative piece of people moving from one place to another. It's an open call to people who bring stories to how they travel from one place to another. And that was my hometown. After I left it for 10 years, I went back and see those people that moving to my old hometown, that how they choose their life to be there. And this is the body movement of how they traveled. Some are fight hard, some are followed with someone, or someone just walking. I think this is where the work, something like this, and enlarged into a bigger scale. Essentially, they are same talking about and caring about the evolution part of identity, but in different scale and included more collaboratively with real immigrant story. So, and I was fascinated by that, open to stories and especially from a journalist angle, that I see the world as an observer. So I do appreciate how the story kind of folds open and it expanded to more than the current time. Yeah, so this is an enlarged scale of the book.
When you have art that's being projected, is it on a loop or is it not predicted when things are going to repeat?
If it's repeat, then it's repeat. I can't answer this question. I think when it comes to even the history is repeating itself, we can say our life won't repeat. Would you say more specifically on What do you mean by that?
No, I was looking at the one with your face, and it moved, and I was wondering, like, does, like, every 5 minutes, is it the exact same movement, or does it go for a while? Or with the dancing, is it like 5 minute segments, and then every 5 minutes it repeats itself, or does it go long?
Oh, yeah, the whole piece is 10 minutes. So it plays for 10 minutes and a pause for a while, then replay. So during the exhibition time, the piece will play on its own.
And do you, as an artist, tell how to frame something and where to place it in a room, or
Oh.
shape something?
Yeah, so this is exhibition. I work with a lot with the curator, so we were thinking about where to place the artwork. What is the narratives between work and work? For this piece, Ride on Wave. So first, I make the waving frame of the two images and put on the wall. So that is pretty much the screen size of my video. And the video is projected and is produced for the frame size.
Mm.
So everything is connected, and it was all planned before. And that is the part, that technical part need to be planned. But what actually comes after the editing or the shooting or the performance is something there's open rooms.
Mm. Thank you.
Thank you.
I love your imagination.
Oh, thanks.
No, it really shows how varied you are with everything you've done, and that you're evolving constantly, which is very human.
Is that Karen?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree, Karen. It really shows, I think, these universal themes, and having this exhibition also at the Pollock-Krasner house, and seeing how artists from the past, these themes are reinvented, reinterpreted, but it's all the human experience. So to me, it's very comforting. I'm not so different than anybody else, right? We all can relate to each other, but we express it in different ways. So on that note, everyone, we're going to wrap up. I want to give a big thank you to Han. And I hope that you can come to see the exhibition in person, or where can they follow you, on Instagram or a website? Do you want to put it in the chat? You can do that, Han?
Yeah, so everything is HANQIN art. That's my website address, and my name plus art. So Han Qin art is my Instagram and my website.
Great. And we're going to look forward to seeing not only your performance, but also your next future endeavors. We can't wait to see. I also want to thank Matthew Ward, our director at the Pollock-Krasner House, for curating this exhibition with Han. And it's the first time that I know of that we've actually had an entire exhibit of a contemporary living artist. So congratulations. And thank you for sharing your beautiful work with us at the house, and also today on Zoom. And thanks everybody for coming. Any closing remarks, Han?
It has been wonderful. I have been rethinking a lot as an artist and as an educator. And thank you, Joyce, for the wonderful questions and presentation opportunities. And thank you for all. There's my friends and my students in this participation Zoom. And thank you for all for waiting us for half an hour. And thank you for staying. This is a heart giving you all.
Zoom round of applause. Have a wonderful day or evening wherever you are. We have this great worldwide audience. Alex from Germany, Joyce from Canada, all over the world together. So thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day.